Hello, welcome to another video. This series looking at Dragons of Icespire Peak, Chapter 3. If you've been following the other ones, you know exactly what this is. If you've stumbled across this video, then it's a DM's guide. We read through it, we have a look at each chapter, and this will be Session 3, which could be also Session 2, depending on where your characters chose to go. Alright. Let's see. Cursed Shipwreck. This chapter assumes the characters have come here before the caves and are still level 1. But if they've done the caves first and then the shipwreck, they will be level 2 as they enter this bit. And it will show you how to level up the encounters. So the shipwreck overview. Why it's there. Ever since the violent death of a gold dragon on the rocky shoal on the north side of the island, the bone-strewn rocks have been the site of many shipwrecks through the centuries. And there was one recent. 40 years ago, a ship named Compass Rose, carrying passengers bound for the cloister, wrecked on the shoal, killing all aboard. So then zombies have been coming out of this wreckage, the drowned, onto the beaches. And you can have an NPC say that the shipwrecks are becoming more and more regular, and we will uncover why that is. Not long ago, a Harpy settled into the wreck of a Compass Rose. Let's just look at the Harpy stats before we dive deeper. Right, there's a picture of a Harpy. Someone that pulls sailors to their doom, that's the myth. A fly speed, interestingly, only 20 foot on foot and fly speed of 40. It makes 2 attacks, goes for claws and one with a club. That's a weird thing. He's challenge 1. He's got a fairly poxy attack when you're only level 1. If you get done for 6 and then done for 3 straight after, 9's quite a lot. So, first level, you explore around the buildings. Luring song. The Harpy sings a magical melody. Everyone in 300 feet must make a save of DC 11. Not too bad, or be charmed. So you could charm an entire village if they failed. The Harpy takes a bonus action to continue it. Okay. The song ends if you incapacitate the Harpy. While charmed, a target is incapacitated, can do pretty much nothing. If the charmed target is more than 5 feet away, it must turn towards the Harpy by the most direct route, trying to get up to it. It doesn't avoid opportunity attacks, but before moving into damaging terrain such as lava or whatever, whenever it takes damage from a source other than the Harpy, the target can repeat the saving throw. A charmed target can also repeat the save at the end of each of its turns. If the saving throw is successful, the effect ends on it. A target is then immune for the day. So a little bit of a description in the book there. So now we know what that is. With its magically entrancing voice, the Harpy has been luring ships to crash on the shoal and feasting on the unlucky sailors. The sailors who escape the Harpy's talons end up as zombies. The Harpy is only the most immediate problem lurking in the wreck. The greater threat is a cursed talisman held in the ship's hold. That is important. Imbued with magic by a long-dead sailor's desperate prayers to a demon lord. The curse is responsible for the drowned sailors animating as zombies. Most of the sailors who were aboard this ship when it wrecked are gone, but some zombies have been trapped inside the wreck for years. So as this ship was being doomed by a calling voice, the captain prayed to Orcus, I think it was, and doing what a demon lord does, brought havoc on the ship in another way. So if you want to embellish this chapter, someone's got the party to explore the Compass Rose, and there are other wrecks around the place which you can put other things in should you desire. So more drowned sailors. They might also find another giant octopus, the spore servant octopus, or ghouls, or whatever you want to put on them. Give them some treasure though. Make there be a point, a reward. Don't just have, it's an empty ship, it's been salvaged. I would probably go into my magic item cards and draw one at random. It doesn't matter what it is. It might be rubbish and not pertain to the mission, but at least to get something. So the wreck is located on a long spur of sharp rocks and dragon bones jutting from the ocean waves. Walls are soggy and wooden and are aged to a sickly black and green, and algae and barnacles grow all over. The ceiling in the ship are 8 feet high, the doorways are 6 feet high, and the doors are in the same waterlogged condition as the walls. So there is a rowboat, which you should have already mentioned, that is just off the beach for them to use at any time. Waves lap against a direct ship lodged against a ridge of rocks and enormous dragon bones. A faint odour of rot wafts on the sea air, along with the sound of screeching seagulls and the roar of the surf. A tangled mess of tattered sails and rigging hangs off the starboard side of the main deck, offering one possible way to climb aboard. At the stern, which is the back, you can make out a gaping hole in the hull beneath the waterline. If the characters pull the rowboat up to the starboard side of the ship, south, they can easily tie up the little boat to the derelict's rigging and climb onto the main deck. However, they're free to explore other possibilities for getting aboard, such as swimming through the hole in the hold. Looking at the map, that's deep underwater. This area is still underwater. And then as we get up onto the main deck, it's dry. And then as you go up to these bits, it's basically C2 and C3, which we'll go into. You can just give them this little thing, but I mean, what is really the difference? I think it helps you all out to just see that map personally. So they climb onto C1, this. The mouldering wood of the deck is slick with algae and seawater. Amid the tangle of rigging, splintered railings and stray seaweed, you spot boots, bones and bits of gore that seem considerably more recent than the wreck of this ship. Stairs lead to upper decks at fore and aft, and doors lead into cabins under those decks. The mainmast remains intact and mostly upright, topped with a crow's nest overflowing with debris. A staircase near the mast and a large hatch on the port side both lead down into the hold. So you know that top, the longest mast, the tallest mast, has that little bit where people go up and look out. The lookout section, that's the crow's nest. A rope ladder runs up the mast to the crow's nest, secure despite the condition of the wreck because it's out of the water. The mast sways alarmingly as characters climb, and at the top of the 50-foot climb, the characters find that they are leaning out over the water on the port north side of the ship. The crow's nest now serves as a nest for the Harpy that has made Compass Rose its lair. This basket-shaped area is stuffed with wood shavings, dry grass, and shredded canvas from ship's sails. There's bones, there's hair, the shiny baubles are also visible in the Harpy's nest. So the Harpy is not there at this stage. As they search through, because they're going to do investigate, characters can find a gold bracelet worth 25 gold pieces, a single gold hoop earring worth 25 gold, 2 small tiger eye gems worth 10 each, and a bloodstone worth 50. C2 is the forecastle, that's the front top a bit. The broken foremast leans out across a broken railing with a tangle of rigging and tattered canvas trailing down to the rocks and dragon bones below. A rusted and rotting ballista stands near the broken mast. The ballista doesn't work. There's nothing of interest to find here. What can we add to that? I would probably add some photographs of sailors on their missions. Just give them something, some trinket, some... What could we put on there? Letters from loved ones. Just, you know, that I hate it when it says there's nothing of interest here. I mean, a picture of a loved one is nothing of interest, but it just gives it that bit of immersion, doesn't it? And if they're really clever, they could use those in some ingenious way, I always like to think. C3, the splintered remains of a mast, juts up from this rear deck like a broken spear. The ship's wheel is askew, dislodged from its mechanism. So the wheel of the ship is engraved and inlaid with mother of pearl, though in the wheel's current position, the name's upside down. If a character turns the wheel, it snaps free of its axle and falls. If the character tries to catch the wheel before it hits the deck, ask for a deck save of 10. Basically, you make a loud noise of some kind and you can stir the zombies underneath you in the captain's quarters. The door crashes open to reveal 2 or more drowned sailors in a cabin that must have once been luxurious. A bookcase, so you've got to think of some books if they ask, half collapsed, hulls waterlogged and disintegrated books and scrolls. So maybe half sea maps. I would have the potential if I had time to make some random maps. I do like doing that, but then rip them up and give them bits just to annoy them. The polished wood desk leans awkwardly on 3 legs as an ornate compass sits in its centre. The bed is covered in rotting bedding and sags in the middle. A jagged hole gapes in the floor beside the bed. If the characters dropped the wheel above or whatever you decided, the 2 zombies are beside the door when it opens, otherwise they're just shuffling around if they were quiet or whatever. The hole beside the bed collapses under the weight of the captain's sea chest. It broke through the floor of the lower deck as well as coming to the rest in area 9, C9. 2 small drawers in the desk hold a pouch containing 50 gold, a set of cartographer's tools and a dagger. The compass set into the desktop can easily be pried free. It is worth 25 gold. The character who searches the cabin and succeeds on a DC 10 perception check notices a floorboard in the middle of the room that is slightly raised. The character who lifts the floorboard triggers a trap. A tiny dart shoots up, making an attack against the character. +5 to hit. It deals 2 piercing damage. What's really the point? And the character must succeed on a DC 11 con save or take poison damage. Okay, let you off. Once the trap is triggered, it does not trigger again unless a character resets it. Obviously, they shouldn't do that. What is the treasure? A sack full of 200 GP rests in a small compartment. I mean, what are you going to spend it on? Mess hall. A long table takes up most of this cabin, which must have served as a mess hall. Decaying chairs are scattered about and broken glass and crockery litter the floor. There's nothing of interest to find here. Come off it. I'm having a look in my Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios book. So, if we're looking in the food area, potions. You could always sprinkle a potion of health around. What about a potion of endurance? A love potion, that's a good idea, that'd be fun. Pack of cards, an unbreakable bottle, quiver containing some arrows, teeth in a jar, just give them something. The descent to the lower deck is chilly, wet and unsettling. Seawater obscures the floor and sloshes against the hull. Decaying crates and barrels are scattered around, some floating freely and others stacked into corners. You hear splashing as a walking corpse lumbers towards you, wading in water that doesn't quite reach its knees. The zombie is an obvious threat, but this is actually kind of a decoy. You get them to fight an easy zombie, and boom comes a ghoul lurking in the aft part of the hold. Much more cunning than the zombies, the ghoul waits to attack until the characters are busy with the zombie. It hopes to paralyse with its claw attack, then drag the paralysed character away. The ghoul is not a former member of the ship, but a vile scavenger, drawn by the presence of decaying flesh. I like it. It's having an attempt at something quirky. So the entire lower deck is difficult terrain, which means half speed. Hole to the hold. A hole in the ceiling in the northwest part of the area leads up to the captain's quarters. There's a similar hole underneath it where the chest fell through 2 floors. If the characters are second level now, add 2 zombies to this encounter. Some of the goods in the crates here remain valuable. Using a crowbar, a creature can pry open a crate in 1 minute. Without a crowbar, it takes 10 minutes. Now this is what I should have mentioned sooner. This crate contents. Whenever it says a player finds nothing here, just go through these one at a time. If a player finds nothing, instead replace with 5 bottles of wine packed in straw. If they find nothing again, a £20 sack of white cloves. It's just give them something like that. You get my point. You're meant to roll for what's in this chest. You can use all this. You can use just one of it, whatever. But that's a good list there of things that should be on a boat. That's right, C9, the hold. As the cold water engulfs you, a strange undersea world is revealed. This is like holding your breath style. Although I do suffocation differently to the rules. Anyway, colourful seaweed grows over the shattered hull, especially around the gaping hole in the stern of the ship. Tiny fish dart among hunks of debris and cargo, swimming and crawling. All it really says is half speed when you're climbing, swimming or crawling. Suffocating. So a creature holds its breath for 1 plus its constitution modifier in minutes. Like in combat, whatever, that's just like forever. I like to think that 1 round of combat is the same as 30 seconds, and you can only hold your breath for like 6 rounds before you start dying, like you're unconscious. I just prefer that sort of thing, I'm sorry. The captain's chest. A heavy iron chest lies on the floor of the hold, directly beneath the hole it fell through. If the character opens the chest here, a large air bubble rushes out and a packet wrapped and sealed in wax fabric rises up after it. The chest is £125, but the characters can also carry it up to the surface. It has a pouch containing 55 gold pieces, 3 turquoise stones worth 10 GP each, boots of elven kind. The floating packet contains the captain's journal, which has been safe from the water by its wrapping. A braid of hair is stuck in the pages like a bookmark. So, boots of elven kind, you make no sound. That is for sneaking past the dragon in Chapter 4. You also have advantage on dexterity stealth checks that rely on moving silently. So yeah, that makes sense to be in the adventure. So you open up this book, what does it say? Well, a lot of the pages are stuck together, but you get to the last page. The 19th of Tarsak. Tarsak is April in Forgotten Realms. 19th of April. Our journey is ended, though I fear my own is to continue in the most horrible way imaginable. Compass Rose, wrecked on a shoal south of Neverwinter. Many sailors perished with the initial impact, and Aletha was gravely injured. As I tended her wounds, she clutched her talisman and breathed soft prayers. I asked her what the talisman signified. She told me love. Her husband waits for her at Dragon's Rest, having pledged his service to the dragon there. The talisman is made from locks of their hair, woven together as a promise to be reunited no matter what fate might befall them. It might have been a beautiful story had it not been for Alethia's gruesome end and the words of the prayer I heard as she breathed her last. She was begging Orcus, the Prince of Undeath, to reunite her with her husband. I held her hands as the breath left her, and I felt horrible chill pass through her. Next I knew she was sinking her teeth into my neck. At the same moment I heard roars. I heard moans begin to rise from the dead sailors all around us. What curse has she brought on us all? Already I feel a creeping chill overtaking my body. I am securing her talisman with this book in my chest, in the hope that someone who comes after us may end this nightmare by bringing Alethia's talisman to her husband. So a zombie curse was started on the ship by praying to God of Undeath, thinking that they might all live, but really he just made them all zombies. After the characters finding this, they hear a thump in the crow's nest. That is where the Harpy has returned. So when you want them to discover it, a terrifying monster perches on top of the crow's nest, spreading its scraggly wings and screeching harshly. Its wings and legs resemble those of a mangy vulture, while its head, torso and arms look almost human. It clutches a large bone like a club and flexes its talons. So on its first go, the Harpy will use its luring song to charm them and bring them to it. So the Harpy wants to hurt them, but if people try and talk it down, it's going to be quite difficult. And it mentions the players coming up with a strong argument, supported by high rolls on charisma checks, to have the Harpy cooperate and back down. The Harpy might flee rather than be killed outright. If they've stolen the things out of its nest, it might leave them alone to get the things back, the shiny things. If the characters are second level and 2 Harpies are present, characters can play on the distrust between the 2 Harpies. And then it mentions adding a second Harpy to the encounter, which also uses its luring song. If the characters defeat the Harpy, one problem is solved. No more ships will be lured to the rocks. If the characters find Alethia's talisman in the hold, they can solve the zombie problem entirely. If they bring the talisman to Runara and explain what they found in the captain's log, Runara nods sadly. She remembers Brastos. He died many years ago. He was laid to rest in the graveyard on top of the cliffs at the northern point of the island, northwest of Dragon's Rest. The graves in the little cliff-top cemetery are covered in white wildflowers and marked with simple wooden slabs. If the characters lay the talisman on Brastos' grave, bury it in soil over the grave, or burn it on top of the grave, the wind seems to sigh in relief. A thick fog forms around the island, and then there's no sign of the Compass Rose ship. If they destroy the amulet talisman thing, it also just breaks the curse. And again, the ship vanishes. If you've got a cleric, it has a funny dream. Gain a level. If they were first level, they're now second. If they were second, they're now third. And if they're third, they can go to Chapter 4. And that wraps up Chapter 3, which I'm actually running this weekend. I hope something in there helped. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on another video.